Hey, Allison Verhalen here, and today I am actually doing a book review of this wonderful book that I just finished reading called The Art of SEO, Mastering Search Engine Optimization by Eric. I'm going to butcher his last name. It's spelled Enge. So however that's pronounced. Stephen Spencer and Jesse Stricchiola is the Italian pronunciation. I don't know if that's actually how she pronounces her name, but those are the three authors of this book that I read. I wish I could hold up my physical copy because I feel very proud that I finished this 700-page tome. It was very long. It took me 6 weeks to get through, but it was really good. It was packed with information. It was also a library book, so it had to go back to the library, which is why I don't have a physical copy to show you. But it was such a good book. This has been a staple of SEO knowledge for years. I want to say the first edition was published in like 2012 or something like that. This is a very new edition. It's super up to date. It was published, I don't know when exactly, sometime this year. They were talking about ChatGPT. They were talking about Bard, which was just launched in March of this year, which if you're watching the replay in a future year, that was March of 2023, in case you're not aware of when that was launched. So that was super, super recent. They even talked about Twitter as X, formerly known as Twitter, which is a stupid rebrand, but that's a topic for another video. So it was super up to date, and it actually implemented all of that recent information, unlike another book that I read earlier this year that claimed to be updated and was not. This one was super up to date, and I was really impressed, especially given how huge this book was. I mean, they had to add a whole chapter on generative AI, which they did, and it was really good. And then they also had to, go through 700 pages of material and make sure it's all relevant and up to date. And I just think they did a really, really good job. So if you're in the SEO world, highly recommend you check out this book. If you're not super into SEO, I don't think you need to devote 6 weeks or more of your life, or less if you're a fast reader, to reading this book. So I cannot possibly go over everything I learned or reviewed in this book, because a lot of it was review, but I can share the highlights. So first and foremost, generative AI. Obviously, it's a big topic. Everyone is talking about it. They were talking about it. Again, they said a lot of the same stuff that I am always saying, which is it's not generating anything. It's scraping content that already exists online and regurgitating it for you. And the whole point of content marketing and SEO is to set yourself apart, to set yourself up as a thought leader in your industry. How can you do that if you're just regurgitating the same stuff everyone else is saying? That doesn't set you apart. That doesn't give anyone a reason to hire you over anyone else in your industry. So don't do it, which is not to say don't use it. It's just to say don't have it generate content for you and then put it up online without at least checking its work. We all saw that awful Bard commercial where they got the answer wrong and they just went ahead and published that commercial without double checking Bard's work. That is not unique to Bard. I've asked ChatGPT plenty of questions that I know it has given me wrong answers because I was just playing around and seeing what it could do. And I was like, yeah, that's not quite right. These people on this book, they actually did a study of how many times it gave wrong information. And it was 50% of the time that these generative tools give you wrong. It's just wrong information. So that's super interesting. Obviously, Google can and does give wrong information all the time, but at least you can check the source. You have no way of checking the source here. So it's like I said, with me, I only know it's a wrong answer. You can look it up. You can actually Google it. Or if it's something that you're already familiar with, this is your area of expertise, you can look at it at a glance and go, no, that's not it. So yes, use it if it makes your life easier, but don't rely on it. At the very least, you have to fact check it, edit it, and then add some thought leadership. I always promote adding a story because they're not great. AI is not great at stories, and AI is really bad at calls to action. I have yet to see a good call to action created by a robot. So make sure you have a really powerful call to action in there. But the other thing, so I liked that they mentioned that it's that they actually studied how often it's wrong. They're not just saying, oh, this is wrong a lot of the time. And you're like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. But to actually have a number, a percentage to point to that says this is how often it's wrong. And it's pretty stunning. I don't think I would have guessed 50% of the time, not by a long shot. So absolutely, really appreciate that they actually took the time to do a study and give us those numbers. So love that. Another thing they pointed out was Google, Google's Bard came out, 6 months or so after ChatGPT came out, which I think a lot of us assumed that Google was scrambling to catch up. These authors posited that maybe Google was actually intentionally holding back because they saw the danger in AI and they wanted to make sure they got it right before they launched it, which I thought was really interesting. It might be giving Google a little too much credit, depending on your thoughts on Google, but I appreciated that take on it. So I definitely thought it was interesting, especially since, this book was published before Sam Altman was famously, and if you're not familiar with this, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, which created ChatGPT and DALL-E, which is ChatGPT for images, was fired by the board as CEO and then reinstated. And one of the reasons he was allegedly fired is because they were afraid he was too concerned with scaling and not concerned enough with safety and making sure they were doing this thoughtfully. Which, if that is the case, that doesn't make me feel great that he's back in charge. But I thought that was really interesting that there's kind of a disconnect as far as how Google is approaching this and how OpenAI has been approaching this. Again, at least according to the authors of this book. They did also say something I've been saying, which is that generative AI, these tools are great for taking information, organizing it for you, analyzing it for you, giving you more information, summarizing it for you, giving more information on the information that you put into it, which I think is really cool and a lot of fun. I think that's one of the best uses of ChatGPT. So absolutely use it for that reason. One of the examples they gave was keyword. You can divide up keywords by different categories. In general, there's informational, navigational, and commercial, right? Are they looking for information? Are they trying to find a specific site or company? Or are they about ready to buy or thinking about buying? All that good stuff. So you can have ChatGPT organize the keywords for you into those categories. Again, check your work, because they did give an example where there was one keyword that the robot understandably misput into the wrong category. It belonged in a different category. So, but on the whole, it still organized your keywords for you pretty quickly. So that's pretty cool. But again, always, always, always check its work. I, as a content marketer, was also super glad to see that the longest chapter in this book was about content. And there was another part where they talked, not even in that chapter, a different chapter, where they were talking about, yes, backlinks are important, but even John Mueller says, yes, they're important. Yes, the technical side is important, but relevant content, I say that word again, relevant content, not content for content's sake, but relevant content is still at the heart of SEO, and that's still what matters more than anything else. So, of course, the content marketer here was going, yay, that's exactly what I've always been saying. So always, always love to have that validated for me. So some of the things that they talked about was, again, making sure it's relevant to your industry, relevant to what you do. I use the example of social media, right? I don't do social media. Lots of people think I do social media services. I do not. I know people who do. If you need a referral, I can give you that referral. I know people who do social media. I know people who teach social media. I know people who teach social media and will do it for you. So whatever you need, I got you covered there. But I'm not going to do it. So I tend not to write about it. I think I had one post that really focused on social media, and it was in the context of SEO, right? So I am an SEO strategist. I am an SEO professional. I do understand that how you're on social media impacts your SEO. And I just had this conversation with a client who was like, I hate social media. I don't want to be on. I'm not wasting my time. I'm like, well, if you want the content I write for you to be as effective as possible, you got to get on social media, because that is important. So I was also glad that they covered things like that. There was also a whole chapter on social media and the different channels you can use. Again, it was a brief overview in this book. It wasn't like a whole like deep dive into all of the social media. But again, it was recognizing that social media is super important for your SEO and your content strategy. So keep that in mind. I also love that they talked about using SEO to achieve your business goals, because that is another thing that I am always saying, right? Ranking at the top of Google for a particular search term, awesome, love it. But are you getting business from it? If you are, great. But a lot of people are ranking with crappy content, and they're not actually seeing results because it's not relevant to the people they're trying to target. Maybe they're getting in front of the wrong people who are not ready to buy or don't want to buy from them or invest in this particular product or service. So regardless of what you're doing or what your goals are, make sure that you're using SEO. Don't rank for the sake of ranking. Don't create content for the sake of creating content. Everything should have a goal. What do you want people to do once they find you? If they Google you and find your website, what next? If they read your content, what next? If they attend your webinar, what next? What's that next step in the buyer journey? Always have that planned out. So you're leading people through the funnel and leveraging SEO, not just as like, yay, we're number one. We're at the top of Google. Okay, that's great. How's business? What do your numbers look like? What are the numbers in your bank account, not the numbers in your social media and in your traffic, but the cold hard cash, as they say. So is your SEO helping you achieve that, or is it just kind of bragging rights? Bragging rights are great if that's all you wanted to use them for. No judgment, but most people use SEO so they can grow their business. So make sure that that's what it's doing, because if it's not, you got to readjust, maybe target a different audience. Measuring your data was something I was surprised was not given a whole lot of time and attention in this book, because it's so important. You can't, it should guide everything, right? You throw something at the wall and then you see if it works, right? Because if you're not measuring your data, it's the same as like throwing something and then walking away before you even look to see if you hit it. That's what happens when you're not measuring your data. So yes, they talk about the importance of measuring your data. They talk about some of the tools that you can use, including, of course, Google Analytics, my favorite, and Bing Webmaster Tools, and some other options. But they don't really dive into what you can do with those tools. It is kind of like, here are the tools you should use, go play with them, which, to be honest, the kind of people who are reading this book, that makes sense. Because yeah, we are going to go play with those tools and see what we can do. But it's not, I would still have a better breakdown of like, here's the things you can use this information for. Here's how you can find this information using certain tools. And then here's how you can adjust your SEO strategy accordingly. Here are some things to look out for. If these things are happening in your numbers, those are some red flags. Those are some things to look out for. And it's not just traffic, right? Everyone talks about traffic when it comes to SEO. Yes, it's important. What about your bounce rate? If your bounce rate is really high, that's a problem. That's something you're going to want to look into. So that indicates that there's something wrong with your website. It's not loading properly. It's not getting the right people. Maybe it's targeting the wrong keyword, targeting the wrong audience. Those are all things you need to look at. So that was something I was kind of disappointed in this book. It's like, I never thought I would say that I want more numbers in my books. As a word person, I never thought I would say that, but it just goes to show you never know where you're going to end up, does it? Backlinks are also super important. There was a section devoted to backlinks. It was also kind of sprinkled throughout this book. Again, with updates, this one had me a little concerned just because they did talk about backlinks as like a super important part of your SEO strategy. For those of you who don't know, a backlink is when another website puts a link in their content that links back to your website. So if someone clicks that link, they'll end up on your website, which is a great way to get traffic. It's also a great way. It looks good to Google. It's someone saying, hey, this website is really awesome. You should check it out. I mean, that is literally what they're saying. So Google takes note of that. It's like, oh, it's not just the website talking itself up. These other websites are also talking it up. So not just lots of backlinks, but high quality backlinks. Because if it's a really good authoritative website that's linking back to yours, that looks excellent. If it's that weird cousin of yours who's always going off on conspiracy theories and they're the ones linking back to you, that doesn't look so great, does it? You don't trust that recommendation. Same with Google. Google's going to be like, we don't trust this website for anything. We don't rank it for anything. Why would we trust their backlink? that can actually hurt your SEO. So there was a whole section on this, on how you can deal with those bad backlinks, some of your options, some of the things you just have to deal with, all that good stuff. So loved it. But Google recently said that it is not in the top 3 ranking factors. And that's not what this book said. This book said that it's basically content and backlinks are 1 and 2, and that's it. Not that that's it, but those are the top factors. So I thought that was interesting because Google said the opposite. So I don't know if they don't believe Google or if they just aren't aware of that particular update, which, if that's the case, I guess that just goes to show that even the professionals can't keep up with all of the changes that are happening in SEO. And finally, last but not least, I did talk about videos and images and how to incorporate them into your content to improve your SEO. Also with images, the book did talk about using keywords in the alt tag of your image, which again, Google has said doesn't do anything for your site's SEO. It does help with Google image search. So if for some reason you have an image and you want it to show up in Google image search, by all means, put the keywords into the alt text that you want that image to search up for in Google image search. It's just not one of my goals, so I tend not to bother. So I thought that was kind of weird that they recommended that, because I consider that, again, kind of outdated information. Instead, with images, the alt tag, I always focus on just describing what's happening in this image, because that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's there for accessibility. That's there for the people who come to my website who are visually impaired, who maybe can't see the image for whatever reason. So maybe they're having a tool read it for them. That's what the tool is going to go to, is the alt image or the alt text, or the caption, which is another option. So you can have it just kind of describe the image. So that's something that I've always done lately, is more of the focusing on providing value rather than getting those keywords in there. Videos, I love that they talked about the fact that there's more to videos than YouTube. But again, Google owns YouTube. So it is super important for your SEO. Again, depending on what you provide, there are people who search things directly on YouTube, and there are people who search things. Some of the searches that people put into Google will generate, text results, but also video results. You'll automatically get stuff from Google. Some of the things this book talked about, which I had seen happen when I'm on YouTube or I'm searching something, that I didn't realize, like from the other end, that there was a way I could make this happen. So it was really cool, the fact that you can upload a transcript, which has your captions. You can also have Google or YouTube, create captions for you. But that's AI, so take that with a grain of salt. I have seen those captions, and they do always get stuff wrong. So I do tend to just actually listen to the video. I'd go the other way. I tend to listen and not really watch the video. I'll do other stuff while the video is playing, and occasionally I'll look back at the video. But I'm not one of those people who's going to read the captions without the sound, without listening to it. So, but a lot of people do that. So keep that in mind. And this book is aware of that too, that more and more people they're keeping their sound off. They're just reading the captions. So you can have YouTube generate captions for you. It's not going to be perfect. So you might want to either go back and edit it. You can also include a transcript. You can also include a transcript that you upload with the video that includes breaks. So here's what we're talking about at this minute. And then here's the section we're talking about in this minute. And then in this minute, we're talking about this other thing. So if someone comes to your website or is searching for, I just need to know how to do this specific thing. So for example, I had a recipe one time that was talking about butterflying a chicken breast. I was like, what the heck does that mean? Right. So they could have led me to a video that was like, here's how you make this recipe. Right. And the whole video could be, from beginning to end, here's how you make this recipe. But I just want to know how to butterfly that breast, so that they point me to that right here. Oh, here's where we talk about butterflying the chicken breast. It's right here. And it takes me straight to that part of the video, and I get to watch it. And now I know what I'm doing, and I can go do what I need to do to make my recipe. So that is the kind of thing that I see all the time when I'm on YouTube or even just on Google, that I had not realized there's a way to make it do that. It's not going to figure that out on its own. You have to give Google the information. So you can do that with the transcript that's broken up into different sections with minute by minute descriptions of what you're doing and what you're talking about in each section of the video. So that is Awesome. So that I'm definitely going to be playing around with that over the holiday break. So that'll be fun. They did also mention that you can upload videos directly onto YouTube if for some reason, or directly onto Google, so to make it more discoverable if that's something you want to do. But since, like I said, Google owns YouTube, so I'm not sure why you would want to do that when it's easier to just put it up on YouTube. But I don't know, maybe for some reason you want to have it live on your website and not YouTube, and you also want Google to see it for itself. So in which case, that's fine. You do you. So that is it. That was the awesome book that I just finished reading. Absolutely loved it. If you have any questions about the book, again, again, the title of the book is The Art of SEO, Mastering Search Engine Optimization by Eric Enge, I'm going to guess, Stephen Spencer, and Jesse Stricchiola. So that is that. If you have any other questions, you can reach me at my website, AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. And you can reach me directly at info@avwritingservices.com. That's it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.